The Skeena River, the River of Mists, is one of the largest salmon runs in the world.
Every single salmon from all 54,000 square kilometers, they all come from the entire watershed and they go to that estuary. Flora Bank, Lilu Island, and that's where they want to put the terminal.
The Lilu Island terminal is deliberate to wipe out the salmon stock that all the nations rely upon. And salmon, it's in our blood.
We live off fish, we live off berries, we live off moose, we live off the medicines that the lands provide for us. So we need all of that intact, always. That's our law. We are matrilineal, which means that we take our identity through our mothers. And we have a system that is more than 10,000 years old.
Where that drastically changed was when the Canadian colonial system arrived.
First Nations have never sold their land, and they've never been conquered by war. It would be like if you moved into somebody's house and said, "I live here now."
Their culture was illegal. They were banned from singing and dancing. So much as gathering with fellow Indigenous people would get you arrested. My great auntie once famously said, "We are like pigs in a pen here." And in this time, too, the children were taken away to residential schools at ages as young as 4 and 5 years old.
Watching my friends disappear, I really wondered what was going on.
They were told that everything they had ever learned was evil.
My mother was placed in an Indian residential school. The trauma resulted in alcoholism and trying to drown out the pain. Then she became very abusive.
Right now, as a nation, we are reeling from 100 years of tragedy.
People were very concerned about 100 truckloads a day going through the village.
When industrial logging threatened the forests they'd preserved for thousands of years, the Gitxsan and Wet'suwet'en nations took action, setting up roadblocks to stop the trucks dead in their tracks and fighting to prove ownership in the boldest land claim in the history of Canada.
The Gitxsan Nation became Indigenous enemy number 1. We're not afraid to take on something as big as Canada.
Right now, we are on unceded First Nations territory, and the BC government refuses to accept that. Shell wanted to drill 3,000 to 10,000 wells in the birthplace of 3 of our greatest wild salmon watersheds.
We knew our rights. This was our land, and we went and we would just take their drill rigs. When they're out here disturbing our lifestyle that we've maintained for 10,000 years on our occupied territory, why aren't you standing here telling them they're wrong? They're wrong, we're not wrong. We told them straight, it's not going to happen. It's going to happen over our dead bodies.
Now we're dealing with the liquefied natural gas industry, which is fracked gas. Trans-Canada Pipeline will cross more than 1,000 fish-bearing streams. The terminal that they're proposing, it would be the single biggest emitter of greenhouse gas emissions in Canada. I mean, we have the oil sands in Canada, and this would be bigger than an oil sands operation.
BC LNG will reduce global emissions by almost 2.5 million tons every single year.
The BC government is doing something that's nothing short of criminal. It is like organized crime, the way that they are trying to promote this industry in our watershed.
10 or 11 individuals had signed on to a pipeline agreement that purportedly binds all the Gitxsan Nation to this agreement. We don't want a treaty, we want our way of life, and we want our land, we want our resources and our culture to remain intact. This is genocide. They tried to take the Indian out of the child. Now they try to take away the land.
It's mobilized people. It's mobilized people to say, hey, we've got to stand up.
We are saying no. We do not allow these organizations to represent us, and they're going to have nowhere to hide.
If you want to save a place, you have to go live there. Our people were forced onto reservations for over 100 years. So the ancestors are rejoicing that we're home again.
Just believe that, whatever you think you could accomplish, it could happen. Get up and do it. It's never going to happen if you're sitting on your couch.